Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I know it's late, but I've been updating the PDF archive. Here is letter A, which is pretty much, um, I hope it's well fitting and more navigatable to everybody. But I did add some PDFs, which I've read today and I found to be very significant for those who can receive it. So I'll leave them in the link below. Where this is in the Armenian Adamic Apocrypha, okay, and and these texts on the surface, if for someone who not studying the Adamic literature, they might seem like, all right, this is just some, who knows if this is right or wrong. It could be a fictional story or, whatever, but um, it actually runs parallel to a lot of the stuff we read about Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel. And if you actually meditate on the text, if we know biblical symbols and prophetic foreshadows, we could discern whether something is real or true, because that's how God works. He works in that infinite order. So if the stories being told in these texts line up with that deep biblical type and shadow of prophecy, we know we could start taking it seriously. And so on the surface, these texts seem like, all right, whatever. But when you meditate on the contents, they actually fit into that category. So there's two texts, and there will be more to come. The history of the expulsion of Adam from the garden. That's a very short text. And I think people, to receive it, you really have to read a lot of the Adamic literature and know what the I don't know. But this other text, the history of Abel and Cain, I actually found quite profound. We know on my channel, I talk about, us receiving our glorified light bodies and the wicked being clothed with death, being clothed with blackness, right? So when we start reading in the history of Cain and Abel, it tells us some amazing things. Number one, it tells us about the mark of Cain, how he received, if I remember correctly, like 7 marks, and one of those was a blackened aura. And that prophetically absolutely makes sense. And and we also hear about how, if you're familiar with the death of Cain, the version of the death of Cain in the book of Yasher, where he was hunted down by Lamech because he thought Cain was a wild animal. Well, okay, let me back up a bit. The book of Jubilees and the book of Yasher, I'm getting excited because this is hitting me right now, have 2 accounts of the death of Cain. Okay? And actually, I think this text confirms the account of the book of Yasher of the death of Cain is the correct one. Okay, so hear me out. In this text, we read about one of the marks of Cain. He received horns on his head. Okay, we could read about it in the text. And that's why Lamech, when he shot him, he thought he was a beast in the wilderness. And the book of Yasher gets into that story more in depth. Okay? Now, the book of Yasher and this Armenian text of the history of Abel and Cain have nothing to do with each other. So when we find them running parallel stories like this, we should start taking it seriously. There's truth in here. And so it's really profound. So kind of exciting, because I think if you could receive this text, we could actually start confirming the real story of the death of Cain. Because the death of Cain seems to be like a mystery. I don't know why every text has a different story, but this confirms it. So very amazing, very amazing. So I want to encourage people to read this stuff. And I just want to say, in my studies, studying Adam and Eve really changed my life and changed my walk, because we can't know the end from the beginning. And when you start meditating on Adam and Eve, like, our first forefathers and what it was like, you really just start seeing people, you start seeing our creation differently, or it really brought me closer to Yah, and it really strengthened me in my walk. You know, when you really understand the source of our truth of who we are in the flesh, um, it really changes everything. So I just want to encourage people, start reading these texts. It's really amazing. There's so much literature here. And, all right. So I pray you guys enjoy. I want to encourage people to read this stuff. Short reads, guys. You can do it in one sitting. Very short reads, okay? I even, I included the original Armenian language in there for anyone interested, whatever. I don't know. But these are short reads. And if you're a fan of the Book of Yashar, I know a lot of people watching are. You should be reading this text. You'll know it's true. So we actually have the true story of the death of Cain. All right, guys. For those who can receive it, thanks for tuning in. Good night.